Thanks for coming on the show, Eric. Literally on your last 12 hours in Singapore. Yeah, you're flying out next morning to Taipei. Yeah, spending the last night with me. It means a lot. So Eric and I met in college at Cornell. We're both class of 2019. And afterwards, I came to Singapore. Eric, after a short work period in New York, moved to Hong Kong. And this past 2 months, we were fortunate to cross path again when Eric decided to do his MBA internship in Singapore. So why don't we just have a quick introduction of yourself, of where you grew up, where you went to school, and what did you do in your career before the MBA?
Yeah. And thanks for having me. I was joking beforehand, but this is a cool activity that a lot of people are doing. I've watched some of your previous episodes. It's cool, and to be part of this experience, it's taking like a tick off the bucket list for me. But yeah, romantic last night at Singapore. But yeah, background of myself. Cornell was my first time in the U.S., but moving around places have always been a big part of what I wanted to do in life. I think it's a dream of so many people, right? To travel places, see different views, have different experiences. So my family's from Taiwan, but I actually grew up in Shanghai and moved to the U.S. for school, for college. I wanted that, short experience in the States before moving back to Asia, and I was fortunate enough to do that with a year in New York at one of the consulting firms there, and then transferred to Hong Kong when COVID hit. So that was it was a good timing because I still had that 1 year of experience under the belt, and in Hong Kong, which is a interesting geography and office that I could be working on project that is with the Southeast Asia teams, as well as with Greater China, whether it's in Hong Kong or some cases in Shanghai, right? So that was quite a fun experience.
So how many years were you in management consulting?
3.5 years. Yeah, I also had around a half-year time back to Taiwan to serve military service. And then I did around close to a year at another conglomerate in Hong Kong under their corporate development team.
Yeah. And that's the kind of the last experience you had before MBA, right?
Right.
So where are you doing the MBA now?
MBA now, I'm in London. So that's the next move, right? London Business School. So the essential thought, long story short, is just that I've been in the U.S. I'm familiar with Asia. I did an exchange in London during junior year of college, and so I always knew that I loved the place. It's a spot that I would go back to, and figured that was the right timing to do it.
Well, okay, I could start, from a lot of different angles, given your wealth of experience across the world. But I think if you were to summarize kind of your identity as a professional, it would be a strategy consultant. Am I right?
Yeah, I think that is the first job for all of us is really the one that shapes, our work tendencies, thought processes, and just ways of working, right? It's just same as I guess in college. It's the first time that for most of us, first time living outside of home, away from parents. So by yourself, you're forming that adult identity, and the first work as well. That's how we form our habits. And so yeah, you're right. I think management consulting by training, and wherever I go later, I think that that identity is part of me, right?
Yeah. Well put. Well put. Maybe before we jump into your career, we can pull back the timeline to before college. I mean, I had the opportunity to study abroad before college. I was in Canada before, so I had a little bit of exposure to the Western education system. And then I actually transferred to Cornell after first year. So, which means I never had that understanding of, how difficult it is to get into an Ivy League school from the super competitive pool of high schools in Asia.
Okay.
So I imagine you must be one of the top students.
Well, thanks for that impression. I hope people think the same, right? But I think it's also an overstatement that there are a lot of like qualified and smart classmates that I had that not necessarily not like Ivy League, but they're smarter than me in so many different ways. But my experience is quite unusual because I was in Shanghai at such a young age. My parents actually put me in international school to begin with. So while I spoke Mandarin at home, the first language that I was taught in school is English. And I think that's why I early on I always had an itch to go to the US. But I say that because it sort of like builds up to how I get to Cornell, right? Around 6th grade, this is when my dad realized that my Chinese just sucks, like horrible. And I remember like he was so pissed off. I can't forget this line. He said, what's so good about knowing English? Because homeless people in America knows English too. You're Chinese. You should know Chinese. And he was massively disappointed because I could barely write or read, anything sophisticated.
It's a classic disappointment from Asian parents.
Yeah.
They tell you straight in your face.
So he just like, he was like, no more of this, pure international school. You're going to a local school of an international division and properly learn Chinese. And that's when I just started to really learn that language. I was around a lot of other Taiwanese folks as well. And I think with that environment, people were still thinking about going abroad, whether it's the US or UK, Australia or Hong Kong, Singapore. And at the time, actually, I was thinking either it would be Hong Kong or Singapore or Australia, just because it will be closer to home. What really, I guess, pushed me to do the States was actually just FOMO, the itch that I was talking about, plus all my I guess closer friends, the ones that I compete with from a grades perspective or even sports. They were going to the States, and I didn't want to miss that experience. So it was almost like Dad, I really want to try and see if I could get something for myself. So yeah, that was the motivation. I don't know if that was a long-winded answer, but if I missed any part that you wanted to ask more about.
You missed the whole point of were you a top student or not?
Oh, yes.
No, but
top 30 maybe, top 30. But the thing with U.S. schools, and you know this too, there's so much emphasis on extracurriculars, right?
Yeah.
And it's an increasingly hard path because you can't just be good with one subject. You have to show a certain passion for that subject, whether it's through competitions or your own projects. And I think through the admissions essays, that's what they're trying to see if that comes out, right? Instead of just a person who is great at test taking.
So what was your the resume you brought to the admission officer there? What do you try to make yourself stand out?
I think the thing that helped the most at the time was me being a student council president. That was the activity that I was most involved with since middle school up to like high school, right? And because of that experience, like activity, I was very close with our school director, principal, the teachers, and so they were a strong like support for me. And this comes in with, say, recommendation essays, right? Like these people, they know you best. They can write in ways that you don't know about yourself as well, and that adds to the application as well. So I think that really helped me make the case. I applied to the hotel program in Cornell, right? And the positioning was really all about me wanting to learn business, but through that hospitality scope. And I sort of, the narrative was essentially me being involved in student council. That was like the leadership aspect, but I enjoyed doing it because it was connecting with people, a lot of events or administrative stuff as well, both from an academic but also extracurriculars for the grade, right? And so I think that's what sort of spoke to the admissions team at Cornell, seeing that connection with hospitality or relationship building, which, yeah, again, connects with business in a broader sense.
Was it a surprise to you that you were admitted?
No, it definitely is a surprise. Like, the thing with international schools in China, right? I think it's super hard to say if you can get into any school. So for my school, as a reference, right? I think Cornell took one person the year before me. I don't know how it is now, but it's almost like a bet. I don't know whether or not our school has certain quotas with whatever universities. But yeah, it was just something that I don't want to, miss out and say, oh, I didn't apply, so I'll never know that result, right?
Yeah. How much time did you spend studying outside of classrooms when you were in Shanghai, like outside of the Chinese education system?
I must admit, like, contrary, not like your I don't know if I should say the average Chinese, but I hate studying, or I don't go to these like extra classes. Some people do. So I've not taken like an SAT class, for example. Like my parents' house rule is, at minimum, they hope I can study 2 hours a day outside of school. And looking back, that's a good habit to have formed. Their rationale is, in Taiwan, everyone goes to these 补习班, which is, after school you have to take math or you have to do whatever. Be ahead of the game, right? So you're top in a class. But for me, I didn't really see learning or studying as like, let's do all the past exams and try to understand all the questions. I really just took it as like, I hope I understand the concept and I can apply it. But going from that approach, I think also helps with these exams, right?
Did you have to do the middle school entrance examination?
So when I transferred to that other school, I was in 6th grade. So given that I was already there, I didn't need to take another exam going into high school. So it was just one entry exam to that school. So in that, maybe I was lucky there. Yeah,
because I know you kind of, both of us were lucked out that we didn't have to do Gaokao.
Oh, that thing is crazy, right?
It's one examination that determines like the rest of your life.
Right, and it's so scary to think like that one result would determine everything. And as a 17 or 18-year-old, that's so much pressure. And in China, I mean, it's still a concern, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, now we understand how you came to the decision to study in the U.S. and also how you got there. What was the first experience like stepping on the Cornell campus?
Yeah. So having grown up in Taipei and Shanghai, right?
Yeah.
I really wanted to be in some like countryside or more connected with nature, right? You know, people shit about Cornell being in the middle of nowhere. It is cold. I loved it. The first time I got there, actually, you know, let me take a step back.
Yeah.
To get to Cornell, right? It's like I landed in New York City first.
Yeah.
Totally different from what I thought, because in the movies, you know, it's Hollywood about, you know, how New York City is portrayed.
Yeah.
But actually seeing the infrastructure, I must say, like, you know, Asia infrastructure, there's a benefit of being developed later on.
Yeah.
That it's much better right now compared to what's there in New York, right?
Yeah.
So New York was a surprise. It's not bad too. I think it's a place where the longer you stay in New York City, the more you fall in love with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was great.
So you landed in the city. How do you get to?
We
Greyhound.
Oh, so my parents were with me. They wanted to see the campus too, right?
Yeah.
Because for them it was something new as well. My mom never went to the U.S. as well, so it was a good journey for her.
Was your dad finally proud of you?
My dad, you know what? I think he's not like he's like the average Asian parent in the sense that he won't say like stuff like, you know, I love you, son, or I'm so proud of you. Yeah. But he's also not the type to be super harsh on me. Aside from that, you know, that comment about my Chinese being super bad. But we just drove up together to Cornell. So just enjoy the views along the way. You know, checked out the city, town. Went to those gorges. And then when winter came around, wow, loved it.
Oh, you loved it.
I loved it. I went out in shorts, really wanted to just feel the cold, dipped my foot, you know, just stepped into the snow to feel. It's like these are the random stuff I was doing as a freshman.
So it seems like you didn't have much of an adjustment period.
Adjustment, culture shock wise, or
culture, academic, social.
Not too much, I guess. I think the only thing I'd say is the first semester, freshman year, I was a bit. I think, admittedly, I slacked off a bit because my mentality was, I worked so hard in high school. I'm here already. Yeah. I'm not gunning for 100 or 120 every time. Yeah. Maybe an 80 to 90 is okay. And then after that first semester, you know, that competitiveness comes back. I'm like, oh no, this is not okay. Yeah. I think that would be like the only like challenge in the beginning. Yeah. You know, getting adjusted to still ask more out of myself, not settle. You know. Yeah.
I think for me, it was the same. I had looking back, my first semester's grades were the worst. And the bad thing about it is it gets averaged down every semester after. So after the first semester, I look at my GPA. I'm like, if I want to get to like a 3.8, 4 by the time junior year, this is how much I need to get every semester after. So I made an Excel sheet.
I did the same thing. So friends that are close in school, they know about this. I have that Excel. It's like I'm at a 3 point whatever right now. Yeah. I'm taking, let's say, 4 classes the next semester. Suppose I get an A or A plus. What does that mean? Yeah.
It's forecasting.
It's forecasting. It's
putting our assumptions and sensitize them.
Exactly.
And see
maybe that's why we're in the jobs that we have right now.
Yeah, but just on your point of the adjustment period, for me, it was, I think, more rougher the first semester as a transfer. That was sophomore year for me. So I didn't go through the same like freshman orientation. I was living off campus. And the school I went to before was liberal arts school. So admittedly, a little bit different in terms of class formats. Like, I didn't know that TA sessions were counted in grades, so you have to show up. So because we didn't have TAs, we didn't have a graduate school program. So the first semester I really struggled, and when the winter hits, it was just depressing. And then you're like, why am I here? Why did I choose to come here? But then after that I realized, okay, I need to get my GPA up, and then that became the kind of the starting point for me to decide what classes I take. I took more Johnson School classes because they were
supposedly the easier ones.
Grades accretive.
Yeah. Sure, that's the nicer way of putting it. Grade accretive. And
I avoided some other hard classes like the government. And looking back, there are pros and cons to classes you want to take, you didn't take, but also the GPA really mattered if you. Whether it's recruiting or going to grad schools. And
Cornell has such a strong recruiting atmosphere when it comes to, I guess, the business oriented full-time or internship positions, right?
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought it up.
It's so intense.
Let's talk more about it because so the final semester I took an English class, and then I had to write a critical essay. And I chose the topic on what you mentioned exactly on the campus, pre-professional campus culture, including the clubs, orgs, and the recruiting. So I think right now all the Wall Street consulting firms are perhaps taking a step back because they realize they have AI, and also, why are we hiring these high school kids who don't know what they want out of life? But I think when we were there, that was really the peak.
Yeah, I think we caught the sort of the end of it, because we were in a lucky year. These firms, they were growing right before COVID, not related to careers, but we had our graduation ceremony in person. 1 year after is totally different, right?
Yeah.
But going back to your question about the
on-campus
recruiting culture, I really didn't realize that was such a thing until, I guess, sophomore year. But at that time, if I have to reflect back, that by then I was in a panic mode, essentially, because I realized that people were doing stuff in first week or first month, whatever, first semester, right? They were looking at the school clubs, what they could do to beef up their resume, to get their first freshman year internship. Can we believe that? It was people were really planning ahead, and that's good on their part. But
what was your experience like when you panic? What clubs do you turn to?
So there are a lot of the finance clubs on campus, right? Or just
too many.
Yeah. And I think it's also because there are a lot of students, right? Yeah. And then there are your interviews to get into those clubs as well. You have to apply. Yeah. You have to interview 1 round or 2 rounds to see if you're the right fit, or if they feel like you could bring value to that club. Yeah. So for 18, 19-year-olds, I think that's kind of crazy. But it is good practice. For some people, it's also meeting others of similar career interests. So networking-wise, there is value to that. Yeah. I do think, we met some closer friends from those clubs as well. Yeah. Aside from a finance club, just joining those social cultural clubs as well. being part of the Asian community, Chinese community, like Global China Connection was one that I was part of. Club of Taiwan, the China clubs as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think looking back, there was a clear delineation between the pre-professional clubs that were clearly, pushing into the envelope, like being cutthroat, being selective, versus other culture clubs that are more laid back. They're more for the social aspect. So I think I was also shell-shocked when I transferred to Cornell. It's like I never knew what McKinsey does. I never heard of it before, and I was like, "What is Morgan Stanley?"
Yeah, and it's like you don't know these. No, you don't know the names. What are you doing here?
and then the kids that are like sitting next to me in the econ classes, they've you wouldn't call it internship, but they've shadowed on Wall Street as a high school kid before. So I'm like, wow, I'm really behind. But it was truly, truly good practice. I'm very thankful for the experience, both the rushing for the pre-professional clubs, but also the recruiting aspect kind of got me started on, being able to...
Because it does prepare you. It does prepare you quite well.
Yeah, I think it directly benefits my doing this podcast even because it allows me to, learn how to talk to people.
Of course.
Being curious, ask questions. Like I don't even know like what, risk is from Nomura, and then I had a coffee chat with this guy, and I had to come up with questions that, and actually pick his brain, and that was a really good practice. Or even other brothers from the pre-professional clubs, right? You have to learn how to be curious. Yeah, I agree. I think that is definitely the upside of these societies, where business frats, clubs, whatnot. Where I found a bit annoyed at the time was really how part of it there's a bit of elitism in it, which I thought was quite unnecessary. Because at the end of the day, you're all students, and maybe we think too much about it at the time, but looking back, if you're in Club A versus Club B, it doesn't, say how successful or whatever you're going to be 5 years out. It's no predictor. Actually, I read a study about how a predictor of one's success is not actually even the school they are in, right? Like, obviously, there are so many people who may not be from a so-called good university, but they're amazing at their job and they make it to very senior positions. But in the research, or just the short reading that I saw, was one indicator is actually what you apply to. So if you have that ambition to go further or higher than what you actually even believe your current status is. Interesting.
But that's a tangent, yeah.
So back to this pre-professional recruitment culture. For those who don't know or never experienced it, can you describe what it's like? Perhaps just both on the clubs and also the firms that come to campus. Yeah, this is like a dark age. Dark moments. It's like, how should I start? When people think of some careers, junior year internship, I guess, is the most critical one, because that's the summer internship where potentially you may receive a return offer to go to that position for the full time after you graduate, right? But leading up to that, you sort of have to think about how your CV is, and if those firms will hire you for that junior year. And that's why there are these shadowing experiences or other freshman or sophomore year summer programs to get exposure. I think that's what it really is for freshmen and sophomore students. And so
the clubs that are set up on campus, I think, are in design to help with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so essentially for me, as an example, then, let's say getting into Cornell hedge fund, it was the channel for me to know what are the companies coming to campus, sort of like the senior and junior year students' perspectives, their experiences in their internships. So it's just like this coffee chat, having to hear their experiences, right? What the interview is like, what are the questions being asked, comp, like stuff that you wouldn't ask like the actual employee, right? That's that type of stuff.
Yeah. Did you feel like it took away from your college experience, from your academic experience, from your social experience?
There are definitely moments of sacrifice or trade-off that, if, let's say, interview period clashes with some other class or exam, right?
Yeah.
I don't recall that happening too much, but, or, let's take another example, actually, preparing for those interviews.
Yeah.
That takes the most time, right? One example might be investment banking, where people have financial modeling practices, or they read like the classic, was it the 300 questions or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And that takes time to internalize all those information.
Yeah.
Reading up on, say, markets or economy, news in general. So it does, like, it's a tough balance sometimes with coursework. Yeah. But it's manageable. And the benefit of being in a closed-off school is the community is close to each other, right? So I don't think I had to sacrifice that much from a social aspect. I was still able to connect with people easily.
Yeah. But I think just to perhaps drill deeper into what the experience is actually like, because a lot of people, most people walked on Earth, most people went to college in the U.S., never had that experience to them, because there are only a few what so-called target schools that these firms go to every year in their recruitment cycle, on-campus recruitment cycle. Yeah. So the experiences we had were actually very rare in that sense. So just to, again, give the listener an idea of what that is like. So sometimes you would wake up, go to your classes, but the time you wake up, you dress already in suit and tie, because you have to rush to the recruitment event after your last class in the afternoon. You don't even have time for dinner. Then you go to that recruitment event, for example, Morgan Stanley, and then it finished at 8:30, you rush to another one, Nomura on campus.
There are a lot.
One is trading, Morgan Stanley, one's for trading, Nomura's for investment banking. Then you don't even know what the heck are these things, and then you just go there, and
there are 100 or 200 other students.
Hundreds of kids just like you.
Yes. Yeah.
Are eager, gunning for the same few spots every year from the team that come to recruit.
Yeah. And maybe there's 10 people in that session, like 10 people from the company.
Yeah.
So the ratio is obviously super off.
So it's similar to like if you were to go to a club.
Yeah.
There are only a few females, pretty girls standing around, and then all the other are a bunch of single horny dudes just stand around.
Yeah, and everyone's trying to get and ask a question.
Trying to get their contacts. Like, at the end, it's like, can I have your name card?
And they're not really listening to you.
It's cringy. It's so cringy. And also
then the follow-up emails.
The follow-up emails. Follow-up emails asking for coffee chats, information interviews. Like, next time I'm in New York City, can we have a coffee chat? And so there's a whole process you're trained to follow.
Yeah. So I think that's almost like the baseline or the standard, right?
Yeah.
That you're saying that people need to follow.
Yeah. And just by the way, these events
Yeah.
you have to register.
You have to register.
And you might not even get selected to go there.
That is the crazy part.
You have to go on their website,
yeah.
fill in your information saying, I'm coming to attend this Morgan Stanley on-campus recruiting event. And then you get an email saying, see you there. And then when you arrive, you'll like register your name.
Yeah.
So it's...
Yeah. It's an interesting experience. I think what worked well for me is actually not... Those information sessions are helpful just to get an initial understanding of the company. If you didn't have, say, the coffee chats already with, upperclassmen who already told you what a sales and trading is, or investment banking, or a consulting, right? But like reaching out to alumni, like recently graduated ones, I think that is much more helpful because they remember you as well. It's not, you're not like one of 100 people trying to like ask them one question and try in the hopes of thinking that one question will be a strong enough, it will be impressive enough that they will remember you. It's better to have these conversations beforehand, before they come to campus, or maybe a few months after is fine as well, but keeping that connection, right? I think when I graduated, people who wanted to join an MBB found me on LinkedIn or through like the clubs, the student clubs. Then they will email me and or LinkedIn message, ask if I have a time. And there's a natural inclination for all of us to want to help someone who is or was in a similar situation as us. And I think that's just a better way of connecting too, like person to person.
Yeah. The recruiting events were just a show. I don't think it makes that much of a difference. Yeah,
probably so. It's broader branding.
Yeah.
And to try and catch any talents that were initially not aware of the company, but potentially is a good fit, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the benefit for those companies. I think let's say consulting in particular leave a decent quota for full-time applications, and so it's good for them to have that on-campus awareness, so that when people do reach senior year and they have a better sense of what they might want to do, then they would apply. And then, of course, there are people who want to keep their career optionality more flexible. They also apply to consulting, right? Yeah, that's sort of me, actually. Going into senior year, wanted to have some like career flexibility, still learn about different industries, and that's sort of like the value add that consulting brought to the table.
So it just reminded me of another experience I had. So the pre-professional recruitments were designed for the business students. In parallel, if you're in engineering, if you're in tech, there will be these hackathons, right? Startup competitions.
Yeah.
So I guess it's not like we're unfairly treated during college in terms of our time allocation. Yeah. So I actually hacked myself into one of the hackathons.
Okay.
In my senior year.
Those like 24-hour event, right?
Yeah.
So, in a way, that's more intense, I think.
In my senior year, I started to take on more coding classes, realizing like, I'll cut that part out. That's probably where the future is, and I kind of wasted my time learning about philosophy in college. So, and through the class, I learned there's a hackathon, and I had some friends who were going to the event, so I just showed up without registering at a networking. So the hackathon begins the following morning, but the night before were the social gathering where for those who have a team, they show up with their team. For those who didn't, they go there to find a team. So I just turned up without registering and then mingled and then joined the team. And then they were nicely enough to accept me. And then I turned up the next day for the hackathon with my bare minimum coding knowledge.
That takes guts too.
But it was really good learning experience. My professor was one of the judges. And but it just speaks volume to like how much was going on campus that are outside of your
There's so much
bubble,
going
right?
on.
So
right?
many opportunities you can learn and grab.
Yeah.
Yeah, but everyone's hustling. There's no shame to trying hard, I think, at that time.
There is no shame. And if anything, it's like seeing other people in other disciplines being that hardworking is a strong like push and support as well for me, right? Like I have friends who are doing interior design, totally different, but just seeing, you know, they were going through similar experiences too, but you know, trying to get onto projects or being a research assistant for some professors if they are in the research field. You know, we didn't talk about pre-med or architecture, which is big in Cornell as well. Yeah. And Cornell, you know, there's that any person, any study thing, right? So yeah, just a lot of different paths that one could take. Lots of opportunities. Yeah.
And we took the safe path.
I think so. Yeah. They do make it easy in the sense that all you have to do is really upload your CV and a cover letter, maybe. Like some don't even care for a cover letter, and just click apply. Right? There are jobs that are probably they're less structured. Yeah. And that's the way in MBA as well. There's sort of like your structured recruiting. These are the firms that you know will come to campus. They'll talk to you. Yeah. And others that are just they're interested. Yeah. They'll definitely want to talk to you, but you just have to go find them yourself. And maybe they have one or two positions. Yeah. But that really just requires a lot more networking effort.
Yeah. Just like after the recruitment events, if you made an impression, whether it's on the day or in your follow-up emails, they will come back to campus with a few interview slots at the career office. Remember? And then I signed up and then got into some of these. Yeah. And then you turn up, it's like one-on-one chat. They got to know you more, understand your motivation, ask you a few questions, finance related. And so it's a whole package, right? It's not just you show up and then chit-chatting, but then that was the first step.
These firms have a very
shortlist.
They have a strong like talent strategy plan. Strong HR team. For some instances, they would email students ahead of time, like, "Hi, McCrid. I know that you're entering your junior year or you're entering your senior year. Have you ever considered XYZ?" Which is them. And it makes you feel good about yourself, right? It's like, oh, this company knows about me. Yeah. How? And then you want to, it feeds into that, that mental. I don't know if it's ego or anything, but it's, you feel more inclined to learn about that company too, given that they have a focus on you. Yeah.
But do you feel like you were overqualified when you started your job?
Oh no, I felt I was underqualified.
Okay.
So I don't think I took an easy path too, because for each like summer experience, for me it was also like trial and error, right? Understanding what I might like, if something is like hype or not. Yeah. So for example, in hotel school, a lot of people do real estate. Yeah. So my sophomore year, I was with a real estate brokerage company, looking at hotel sales and consultancy. And so with that experience, I was able to cross out and say, okay, real estate to me is not like the area I want to have as a career. junior year, I was in private banking.
Yeah.
Good experience as well. But then I knew, maybe it's too administrative early on. Wanted some more analytical experience. And this, frankly speaking, by then it's almost like, oh, it's only senior year now. Like I don't have any opportunities to try.
Yeah.
And that's why I say like going into MBB, I felt like I was underqualified because I didn't have like the internship experience with that company.
Yeah.
I didn't have like consulting experience. If you like private banking is completely different, right?
Yeah.
And then you have students from other top schools, so you naturally think, oh, am I good enough?
Yeah. The reason I said overqualifying is because I think some of these top smart students who are just geniuses in mathematics, in sciences, chemistry, biology, and then they go into finance, which typically the first year they ask you to just do PowerPoints and doing basic
execution related tasks, right?
Very little analytical component to the job scope. So, I mean, it's not new for me to say that there has been a concern of this talent drain going into Wall Street versus Silicon Valley, or starting their own companies like behind. I think what's his name, the guy, the Asian guy who ran for president, Andrew Yang. He was like every college kid should start their own company or something.
Yeah.
But back to you. How do you land your full-time job at MBB? And by the way, MBB is what?
Oh, yes. We should say, McKinsey, Bain, Boston Consulting Group, which typically for strategy or management consulting is what people would aspire to join, I'd say.
They're in a league of their own.
Of their own. They have their strong expertise in certain areas. And for me, the application wasn't that different from the others. Is like what we said, right? So they actually for the one I joined, they didn't come to campus, but they did have the posting, and so that was just an application, easy enough. My mentality at the time is, again, like, let me try for MBB, and if that doesn't work out, I know that there's still say like a similar path in private banking that I could consider, right? And it's really what we said. Talking to people before the application, or even when I was waiting for a response, because you don't know if I didn't know if I would get the interview, right? But still speaking with recently graduated alumni on their experiences with each of those firms, understand if it might be what I was looking for. If any of them and I click well, then are they able to refer me? Like, that's sort of the standard process. It's the thing that you have to do. And then the famous case interview preparations.
Oh yeah.
That was something new to me, which I started late too as well. A lot of, some people start freshman year, right?
Yeah. I tried to rush for a consulting club, and then I failed in the interview round. Even until today, I remember what he asked me. So I sat down in one of the classrooms, and this guy asked me, "Can you estimate how many diapers Walmart sells in a year?" In the United States.
Stuff like that. Really random. Like classic, like how many ping pong fits in a Boeing, right? And
if you never read the Bibles, the
yes,
consulting the case study Bibles, then you don't understand the process. Yeah. How do you analyze these problems?
So I think, those Bibles, super thick. They're like a textbook.
Yeah.
I really didn't want to read that.
Yeah.
So what I did was actually go on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's probably so much more accessible now with like say podcasts or YouTube,
Yeah.
other content creators sharing, right?
Yeah.
But this guy, also like very well known, Victor Chang, he's sort of like the guy that is teaching you how to break into consulting. And
Yeah.
there were some videos about how he speaks, and what to focus on. So it was I watched those videos and just sort of like thought of how to present myself accordingly. I didn't want to. Okay, this is probably not the best advice for everyone because everyone preps differently. Some people like to do one-on-one mock interviews with others to have a sense of what questions might come their way, like market sizing, the one that you were sharing, right?
Yeah.
I found it awkward to do those mock interviews, but what I would do instead is, practice in a mirror to know how I look when I'm speaking.
So you focus on the delivery.
Exactly. I focused on that first, but like the cases themselves, I was reading the MBA consulting casebooks at the time because these are readily available resources on different sorts of consulting prompts. Like it could be a market sizing, it could be market entry, cost, revenue and cost. That's like these are sort of like
the big three.
The most common stuff they'll ask you.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like you have to understand the framework to talk about these questions in a manner that that shows that you understand communication, right? Because a big part of assessment is also, are we comfortable putting someone who just graduated in front of a senior client team that can properly share the scope of work that is being done by the consulting team. Yeah, not in all cases, but you want someone who is ready to do that, right?
So would you say that the experience, the interview process we described, the case interview, were a nutshell of what you worked on later on? Was it a representative?
Yeah, like if you think of, say, like a standard, say, 4-month case or project, the interview itself is like the microcosm of that, right? Like, let's say the profit question, you're essentially looking at how to grow your top line or lift the margins, right? So costs. But the actual projects themselves are more defined. So what I mean by that is you already know, let's say it's a cost concern that the company wants to address. So it's about performance improvement and cost reduction. And then you delve deeper into what are the cost buckets of the company. Is there any benchmarks that you know from past work or industry that you can tell if the client team is, over-indexed on one department or not? And sort of like the benchmark to identify if you can become more efficient or lean in a department. Yeah.
So you don't have to say exactly which one, but comparing the three MBBs, you mentioned that each have their own strengths and weaknesses. So what were the differences? What sectors they focus on, or how different were their styles when it comes to problem solving?
So I would start by saying I think the work itself is actually not too different, right? The manufacturing process and framework to approach these, I think it's well developed across all three, and that's why if you succeed in one, I doubt that it'll be that different in the other two, aside from like cultural, like office culture or the company culture perspective. And then I think for people looking at these companies, it's about what sectors that they might be interested in, right? We join as generalists, but with with each company, they might have a strength in certain sectors. So let's say Bain doesn't do government work as much as, say, McKinsey would, right? And that's from a risk perspective that Bain decides not to go into that field. You might see like McKinsey in the news because of those government related work, and
They were caught for consulting for Chinese government, right? Recently.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or like border control was another one that was an issue.
What was the border control issue?
Oh, sorry. Like working on a project that is about the U.S. border control.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't think that was like, sorry, issue might be the wrong word, but it was in the headlines because of the debate in the U.S. about whether immigration,
I see.
whether or not it's rightful, right?
Yeah.
If they have the right budget at the borders.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was why I think it made the headline in the first place.
Yeah.
Other areas could be, sectors strength could be like private equity, due diligence type caseworks. Yeah, I think those probably are the ones that stand out.
What
and
about
then from a
BCG?
BCG, I'm sort of slipping my mind right now. But I think they have a strong data analytics team, is what I know. But yeah, I can't speak too much on them.
Okay.
I think from like offices wise, it's more straightforward, right? Like New York, you probably have more diversified clients and project types to work on, and that's why it's such an appealing office for everyone to go to. Not just because a great city, but like work wise. Then you might think San Francisco is healthcare and tech as the two large industries. Hong Kong financial services or conglomerates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you specialize over time?
I didn't specialize. So I think for most consultants, probably when they are going into the manager roles, they need to then align to a sector. But I didn't officially align, but I was most involved with financial services, given the Hong Kong, being based in Hong Kong. Yeah, so insurance firms were a big portion of the work that I did, and then conglomerates being the more mature companies. Then they're looking at either transformation or performance improvement. Performance improvement being essentially bottom line uplift. Yeah.
Well, this may be a stupid question, but just at a more philosophical level, why do companies need external consultants who might not know their own businesses as well as themselves?
Yeah.
And what justifies this industry's existence and success?
It is the question right now, right? Because it's like, will this industry continue well into the future if AI can do the job? But I guess to answer your question, there are a few reasons why. The obvious one is probably outsourcing. The company themselves might not have the resource and the time to look at a specific project. But consulting firms have a full team dedicated to that purpose, to go into the weeds of stuff for analysis. I think that might be one. So as an example, say like PE firms, when they are bringing a deal to their investment committee, they also want to have commercial inputs from the consulting team on the market or on feedback from the customer perspectives, right? And so they often hire a consulting firm to do that and provide that input into their models before they finalize. And then you have, say, situations where the company themselves, they don't know what they don't know, and they need information about the market. This is, I guess, the more exciting part of the exciting work for a lot of people because we think, we're trying to identify the problems for them and the solutions, giving them market information that they had no idea about. And that I think is the value, right? Providing benchmarks on other companies from an outside-in perspective. You can think of...
And you have the data from your own history, right?
It would either be from anonymized databases, right? Or through expert calls. So talking to folks who were in, they've left say company X, but they can speak to the market, the industry or that company or other competitors. So we do a lot of expert calls to ensure that the information is correct and provide that as well. Yeah, or secondary market reports as well. Those all feed in, and then, in some cases we can build our own model to share perspectives on, say, growth and other facets of the business. Sometimes it might be taking the company's internal data to analyze as well, because there are a lot of sensitive data that not the even the, say, the C-suite, they don't want their own team members to touch, and so they let the consulting firms do that. Yeah.
How do consulting firms price these projects to clients? How do they charge them? By the hour?
So if we talk about SKUs, right, like stock keeping unit, or the product itself, is essentially the size of the team. So what we might say M+1 is one manager plus one analyst, right? So a typical team might be M+3, and that 3 would be a mix of analyst and associate, and that the price is based off of that. The analyst to associate to manager to principal levels, they have their rates, right? Yeah, so it's based off of that. Exact figures you're asking?
How do they know how many hours this project is going to take?
So MBB actually doesn't bill by the hour, to my knowledge. It's more on a time span. You're hiring these people for that team composure for say 4 months. So that 4 months, it's not down to the hour, but it's say 4 months or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And by a weekly basis, what the rate is.
But how do they know this project's going to take four months to solve?
That typically is scoped out by the partners in discussion with the key client map. Based on what they want to solve. There's sort of based on experience, the partner already knows typically this would take this amount of time, right?
Yeah.
So let's take commercial due diligence. Usually it's 2 to 4 weeks. 2 weeks would be a very short one. That might not be full scale customer interviews or it would be the scope will be narrower, versus 4 weeks it might be it'll be more complete. So it depends on the needs of the client as well. I'd say depending on what the case capability is, there is already a sense of the time.
Yeah. What did you like the most about working in consulting?
Oh, that is a tough question.
What did you learn? What was your learning curve like at first? What do you think it instilled you for your rest of your career?
The learning curve is steep because whenever we change a project, you have to become the expert in that in a short time frame, right?
Yeah.
I admittedly, I don't think I was the best like first year analyst because I was just like trying to like breathe, keep my head above water. I remember two advice that I received from my seniors at the time, like supervisor at the time. One was like, he told me that he felt it as well. Like it was sort of like for him, that was the advice that he keeps in mind, which is to always be paranoid about other people catching your mistakes.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, that sounds kind of intense, but that's sort of the mentality. Like there's a notion of keeping your work zero defect. Like, is that possible? But that's sort of like the expectation.
Yeah.
So
Same goes in banking. Yeah.
exactly. And I think that's the professional service standard, right? If clients are paying that much money, then you shouldn't have silly mistakes. Like people might joke about fonts being different or the notes not being, precise, but those are the things that show that the work well, right? Because you don't want to lose credibility over something stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we were, as the bottom of the food chain, we were in charge of these small things to make sure they're perfect, right?
Yeah, but learning wise, I think that's instilled in me, right? Even now, I think keeping that high standard, and the other skill set, I guess, is the case cracking or
Business sense.
Yeah, business sense of how would you address a problem? How do you address the project? If you're leading, one or two others, how do you make their work more defined so that they can provide you value add or leverage? It could be like as tactical as that even. And I think corporates who look for consultants when like to hire, they also value these skill sets, especially project management and the corporate perspective.
Do you have any memorable projects you can speak to? What were some of the most defining milestones in your time there?
Yeah, the one that usually sticks out to me is like a customer experience case for insurance, which is unusual because we don't really think of insurance providing customer service or experience, right? And that was the thing that they wanted to address as well. Like, do people think that we are providing for them? Would they recommend us over another insurance firm, right? In Hong Kong, that field is so competitive. There are so many insurance firms, but people, the population in Hong Kong are active buyers, right? So there's a need to have an edge in that sense. So we basically started off by doing a massive survey and work to understand how people perceive all the firms in the market from that customer experience standpoint, down to the journeys, the customer journey. So every touch point of learning the company, learning about the company, to being serviced, to when you're buying the insurance like policy, to when you are making a claim, to post-claim relationship retainment, stuff like that.
So your team designed the survey.
We designed a survey, and then we also spoke to target customer groups to understand what was like the gaps. Then went back to the drawing board with the team, the clients, to co-create like how they would sort of reshuffle or recreate their touch points. Why the survey down to the granularity of sub-journeys is important is because we need to know sort of like what is the exact touch point that you are making your client, like customers, go away, or what do they,
Which step
it's good to know
on,
what they like, but what's the stuff that are actually pushing them away from you, and that's the thing that needs to be revamped.
Did you interview people? Like, how do you collect the data points, or did you outsource it to a third party?
No, so like for example, when we design a survey, there will be questions that are already quantitative, like we could get quantitative inputs on. And in terms of like reaching the
do you blast it out?
Yeah.
Or do you go on the streets?
No, we do work with like other third parties too, who are these like data, I guess, providers. They find the right demographic of people based on your needs. So we define like the demographic, how many people we need to reach for each, like say gender or age or profession, stuff like that. And then that is blasted out. We collect it. And then that is then sort of, supported by individual interviews that we have and focus group interviews that we have with target client segments.
Mm-hmm. Did the client use your findings at the end?
So that one was I think quite a rewarding one because it was tougher than expected. The client expectation was high. Yeah. But it was a good project because I believe a year later they made considerable progress from the customer experience standpoint. Just by looking at the survey results again as well, like compared to other benchmarks. Yeah, but for me, like that was it was memorable because of the client interaction the responsibility that I was put in charge of, like talking to more senior people one-to-one. I did a meeting where I was talking to like 20 people at the same time. Just to explain like what we were doing. So that was like my first experience talking to that many people, just like staring at me, right?
Oh, it was in person? Or
there were probably half of the attendees were online.
Okay.
And half in person. Yeah.
And you have to give a presentation on what you're gonna do to.
At that point, it was already what has already been done. So it was like an update on our progress. Standard like. This is what we were going to do. This is the progress, what the output is, what it implies, stuff like that.
What were some of the most stressful moments?
Deadlines. They're always the the thing that gives the most stress. I think when the deadline is approaching, and then you suddenly get feedback from like a senior team member, let's say like in a case like a partner, say like this is actually not good enough or we need to do more on something, then you know that you have to put in more hours with the team to make the content more defensible or more fleshed out, essentially, right? Because we also want to make a good recommendation to the client and not have them challenge us up front. Yeah. I don't think there were specific instances that I can recall right now, but typically the other stressful moments are usually right in the beginning of the case when I'm just starting.
What the heck is insurance?
Yeah, stuff like that. Like, I know, but what is the detail of this company? Yeah. And insurance is one example, but if you've been doing, say, insurance for 2 or 3 cases, and then suddenly you're put on something related to softwares, you might be like, oh, what? So there's that panic moment. Any new industry would be a challenge, I think. And then there's the element of changing team members, right? Because
turnover is high.
Not even that yet, but it's just like
within the firm they staff you with different people.
Exactly. If I've not worked with a manager before, I might be worried about how that manager perceives me or how that manager runs the project, how I should interact with him or her.
Yeah.
These sort of, I think it's very interesting pressures to have because most other jobs probably would not, change teammates or bosses that often, right?
Was it like purposefully built in as part of the consulting culture or talent management too?
Yeah, usually, I mean, I think it's also who's available for that practice.
Yeah.
So when a case is sold, obviously the partner is tagged to it. The manager who is affiliated to the relevant capability or sector is also tagged to it. And so it's them sort of selecting the analyst or associate. But in some cases, if you happen to be like the only person on beach and available, then you don't have a choice but to go on because of business needs, right?
Have you worked with partners that were just hard to work with, very harsh, even nasty?
I wouldn't say, actually, you know what? I don't think I've worked with any like toxic partners. No, I wouldn't say it's that bad. The struggle usually is how to manage upwards, which is, if you understand one person's style, maybe it's easier to talk to that person. But there could be people who are very hands off, so they actually don't even know how the project is going until the meeting.
Yeah.
Because they have too many on their plate. Maybe for that particular project it's a lower allocation to them, capacity wise.
Yeah.
So it's a challenge to relay the information in a short time, and they're just reacting as well, right? And the danger there is that when they're just reacting on the spot, then there might be new stuff that comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you travel a lot, or?
Oh yeah. So interestingly, I'm probably the least traveled consultant. So in New York, the clients would majority. There are so many clients in New York already, right? Yeah. And I said I had a preference not to travel. And then COVID, so we were working remote. But in Hong Kong, it's similar too, right? There are a lot of local clients, so you don't necessarily have to travel.
Yeah.
And in cases where it's on like Southeast Asia, you could do it remotely as well. So I actually probably only traveled 3 times. Yeah, out of 3.5 years, only 3 travels.
It was pretty good. I mean, if it gets too much, it kind of disrupts your routine.
Yeah. So, maybe that's another element for some people to consider, right? Like McKinsey, I think, is known for more travels. Out of the 3, Bain probably the least. Like more regional travel. Yeah.
Because of the work scope or just the preference?
No, it's just the way the business is set up, I think. Like internally, that's sort of their business strategy. Yeah.
Okay, so I think that pretty much wraps up my curiosity for consulting. I'm sure we can follow up with more interesting stuff that you can't share about because it's confidential.
Yeah, sure.
Do you want to pivot to another area of topics you have in mind, or I'm just thinking about concluding. I mean, given we don't have an outline, we don't have a script. This is the first time we're doing this.
No, but I think this topic is, super relevant for students just starting their careers, right? Mm-hmm. Or considering consulting even. I would say, it's still an industry that has potential, right? Like people think of AI replacing jobs, but it's really, in my perspective, it's really about how one uses AI in their work, to implement it within to make things more efficient or effective. So from a consulting perspective, it actually helps in the sense that analysts could work faster, the ones that stay in a firm. And yeah, I think it's such an exciting time.
They've done a few rounds of layoffs, right?
Yeah,
recently.
I think so. I think, that there are a lot of reasons for why that happened. Like, I mean, I believe it was like 2022 was probably a good consulting year. So there were a lot of overhire, if you will. And so when the next year there are less demand for consultants, then there's sort of like the oversupply needs to be dealt with.
Yeah. Do firms typically cut the lower performing tiers every year?
I think it's not that direct. It's almost like a natural attrition because
People leave,
will leave, burn out. When with every case there is a review, right? And so when one gets a lower review, then they're sort of in like assessment period for another 3 months, and that's when some people choose to stay and show that they still belong in the next 3 months or next 6 months, or they decide, I can do something else as well. So that's where the attrition comes from. And when these moments like clash with promotion cycles, that's when people really leave, right? Because you might think, I expected a promotion, but because of one bad case, this derails stuff. Yeah.
Were you ever close to that?
Yeah.
Assessment period.
Yeah, no, my first year was a struggle too, right? That was why I was saying, like learning the ropes of stuff. My first year was already that assessment. Like honestly speaking, I had to prove that I still had what it takes, I guess, in 6 months. So they gave me 6 months to have a rating of I forgot what it was, but yeah, and then it's a more frequent catch up as well. Like your manager and the partner knows as well. So actually, you know what? Going back to your previous question, that's probably the high pressure moment.
Stressful.
Yeah, the stressful moment, because I was thinking, this is just my first year, or actually first 6 months, and that was already the main challenge. So thinking back, the first 6 months being in I was in a private equity group. And having no experience was probably why I faced that challenge.
Yeah. Did that play a role in your transfer to Hong Kong?
No. So that was always in plan, because as an international student, I only had 1 year OPT, right, which is for the international students to work in the U.S. Yeah. So it was always in the plan. Actually, I applied to Hong Kong first, and they offered, said, there's this opportunity for you to stay in the U.S. for a year. Do you want to do that? And then went through some internal processes. So I was quite lucky. The experience itself, obviously a challenge, but looking back, what a blessing to have hardcore supervisors, right?
Yeah. Get rid of the hard stuff up front. And
yeah. And if anything, I think that helped me, be able to withstand more pressure. Whether it's internally or from clients, just being able to deal with it better, have the confidence or conviction in myself to say I can show and deliver. Yeah.
Do you have certain moments you remember? Like if you were to contextualize it, I think about the just illustrate what was happening at the time when you were struggling as a first year consultant. The long nights, weekend work, and I don't know.
Yeah. So I think from a first year perspective, we were or I was quite protected from weekend work actually.
Yeah.
So that was quite good. Long nights compared to Asia, New York was okay, right?
Okay.
Like New York, a late night might be 11 to maybe before 1 o'clock for sure. In Asia, like my worst hour was up to 4 a.m. So I wouldn't say the hours were too challenging.
So what time you start the next day?
The craziest one was like, which the one I was just talking about is, I ended at 4 because, I had to deliver something.
Yeah.
My manager saw that the analyst working with me could not take it anymore, so he literally just told me, this person needs to leave, but can you take it? Can you finish this off? And I'm the only one to do that. So 4 a.m. and then the next day there was an 8 a.m. client meeting. Not me presenting, but still I had to be there, right? So that was a rough moment, and also probably the moment when when it clicked to me that this is not sustainable forever. Yeah. We always say like one person is 2 bad cases, however you define bad, like 2 bad cases away from leaving consulting in general. But going back to that first year, I think it's not understanding like the cadence or like how fast I should be delivering stuff, how detailed I should understand stuff, voicing myself out in meetings. I think I was a bit too reserved as well, too cautious about like what I should say. But really, like that backfired, right? I think there's always value to communicate more in team meetings, to share what you research or what you found, to contribute to the discussion or whatever work it may be. Yeah.
I'll probably draw a conclusion soon on the podcast today, but if you were like looking back to everything we discussed today, your journey to attending college in the U.S., succeeding there, getting yourself a job, a foot in MBB, then now moving on to the next career chapter, were there certain principles or guiding philosophies you would share? I don't want to say advice because it's just advice is too generic, and everyone will say like, "Oh, enjoy your best life," or
exercise more,
or work hard. And
philosophy. So the one that I like the most is this Japanese concept called ikigai. I don't know if you've heard it before.
I think so.
Okay, but it's essentially like just thinking about what you love to do, what the world needs, what you can be paid for, and then what you're good at doing. And I mean, think of those as like the 4 circles, and the it's like a Venn diagram almost, right? You want to find that center sweet spot that fits all of them. But if you can't fit all of them, what are the trade-offs that you're willing to take? So I think from a student to a career choice perspective, that's the one that is always in my mind now. I probably wouldn't change a thing about how I've got here, because the experiences are so valuable. I'm still a big promoter of consulting firms. Generally speaking, I think the work experience it's a great training to prepare you for anything else, whether it's like hands-on like analytical skill sets or the more soft skills or communications. I think it's great, but also beyond that, then it's finding what you want to do, right? I think that's the focus for so many people right now as well, and being paid to do it.
Yeah. Okay. On that note, I think we'll wrap up here.
Nice.
Thank you so much for coming on the show, and especially, now is what, 12 hours.
Like we said in the beginning,
10 hours.
Romantic last night. Just talking about past experience.
Yeah, and I liked how free-flowing it is. It's just two friends catching up and talk about whatever on their mind. It's not like
Yeah.
other podcasts I did where I had to really research a subject, did an outline, and then
Of course.
So,
we
yeah.
like this is fun, right? Exchanging views. And how for me it was just like it's also an easy conversation, just being transparent. I don't think any of these are things that I feel difficult about sharing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, on that note, thanks for coming on the show, Eric.
Oh no, thanks for having me, Macrid.